I want to talk to this person. This person's been on hold for like an hour. I'm gonna go for Mark, pronouns he, him. Calling in from sentient camels, dudes with humps that know some stuff about themselves. I swear to Glob, this is what it says. All right, this is what the call screen says. I'm reading this word for word. Has proof of the supernatural from a YouTube search. That's what it says. We're going to see what that's all about. Mark, you're on the line with Forrest and Owen. How are you doing today?
Hello, Forrest and Owen. I'm doing great.
Hey, right on.
I'm offering you something. You said the magic words. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you were probably going to say that. You have proof of the supernatural from a Google search, and I want to know what that could possibly mean.
Well, I want to back into this a little bit because you're not going to believe me. But
I already don't.
Said the magic words in your last. Yeah, I know. I know that. In your last call, you said if there was evidence of God, you'd change your mind. No, I'm not. I'm not asking you to change your mind on God. This is just supernatural. This is minor compared to godness.
Okay.
But yes,
what do we got?
It is. You will think right away. You'll think. I mean, your mind is already made up in this area. Even with this particular kind of source that I have, you say, well, my mind is closed on this. So you need to take it on faith, which is not really your thing, but it is proof.
I think it's a terrible thing to do.
You that. What, faith?
Yeah, taking something on faith is the dumbest thing you can do.
Yeah. I'm not asking you to do that.
Okay.
Proof. And I'll tell you what it is.
It's just before you get there. Just before we get there, is it your YouTube channel that you're just trying to push here?
No.
Okay.
It's the YouTube channel. And
I'm going to pull him up master before he says it. So
yes, that's fine.
He's pulled up master now, so he can do whatever he wants. You guys should be able to hear him.
Oh. Yeah, I can hear him. Just so the audience knows. The audience, you cannot hear this person for just a second. Okay, so go ahead. None of this matters.
Okay. Lay it on.
Is it even coming close to telling you the link to research whatever he has to look up? That's why I have him off mute. It's like just dead air for the audience unless he just spits it out. So
yeah, no, we're almost there.
Okay.
Okay.
So these two people are talking, and he demonstrates what?
Okay.
Okay, so it's a guy who does a magic trick, is what you're saying. It's a guy on an Anderson Cooper show, and he does a magic trick.
Okay, I'm pulling him up back to master. Well, okay. If that's all it is.
That's all.
But here are the search terms. Do you have your pencil ready?
I'm not going to look it up. There's no reason to. It's a guy on an Anderson Cooper show who does a magic trick. If he had supernatural powers, then for sure this would be something that could be researched and studied. I'm not going to let you give me the search terms so that we can rickroll our audience. I would do that. I'm not going to let you do that. I don't see the point of this.
What do you think I'm doing?
I'm asking you just very quickly. You have a video of a guy who does something that you can't explain. Okay. I get that every time I watch a YouTube video of Penn and Teller. Right. Every time I watch Penn and Teller, I see supernatural things that I can't explain.
Well, this is not Penn and Teller.
Right. It's some asshole on an Anderson Cooper show. Why? Why would I?
because it'll be you'll see something new and something that might change your mind. Don't you want to have your mind?
But
changed?
there's no reason. If I saw somebody on a YouTube video do something that I can't explain, my first instinct is not going to say this is supernatural. It's going to be this person did a magic trick, or the video's been manipulated, or there's something else going on that I don't understand, or the camera was bad, or like there's a million and one reasons why somebody could do something that I couldn't explain that's totally natural.
Well,
a supernatural explanation would be a dumb thing to assume.
Well, I've been a film and video writer, director, award-winning, because if you don't win awards, you better go home. For decades, I've been a medical writer for decades. My work has been at Lincoln Center, at Smithsonian.
Yep,
so
none of it matters.
I think you ought to take a chance.
Dude, I can't stress this enough. Seeing a YouTube video about something that looks like magic is not a good reason to believe in magic.
You don't know until you've seen it. And I do. A free chance.
That is like the standard of evidence.
Can I ask you something then? I'll tell you what.
Sure.
Tell me what is in the video. Tell me what convinced you. What did you see?
Can we pull him? Can we pull him back off master really quick?
Yep.
Can we pull him back off master and just go ahead and tell me the search terms? I'm gonna look it up, and I will decide if we feel like we should put it on the thing, because I see even Matt's in the chat saying he wants to see it too. So what are the search terms now? Tell me. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so here's this. It's this. The psychic reading and it says entire video in parentheses. Okay. It's a fucking psychic medium. You can put him back on the master again, Arden, if you'd like.
Yep.
Yeah, so what we're seeing here is it's Anderson Cooper getting a psychic reading from a psychic medium. I have no problem with anybody seeing this. Nope. I will put it in the chat right now. It is some guy named John Edward. He's a psychic. Yeah, Mark, yes. If you're seriously going to sit here and flaunt all these credentials of working with these science organizations and you've been tricked by a psychic, I think you need to come down a little bit off of several high horses.
Well, when you see it, you'll understand. That's the only way you'll understand.
Okay, so this person, he reads, he comes up with some stuff that he couldn't have possibly gotten from cold reading. Is that what you're arguing?
Yes.
Okay. How do you know Anderson Cooper didn't tell him that shit and then act surprised in order to make for a good clip?
When you see it, you'll understand. I mean, he reads a couple of people on the campus.
I asked, I don't make me see it. How do you know all these people didn't make for a good clip because they're in the entertainment industry? And so he either told him some shit that isn't true and told him stuff about his life for him to say back, or the guy just said bullshit and everyone just acted like he was telling the truth. Yeah, how do you know what those two things didn't happen?
It's super common.
All I can say is when you see it,
can you hear me? Am I audible?
There's nothing I can say to convince you. If you see it, you will be convinced.
Look, in this industry, it is super common to set things up like this. Like it's assumed that it's set up, but it's entertaining. I don't know if you have heard of Darren Brown, but he does this kind of stuff all the time. It's super entertaining.
I know about him. He's brilliant.
Yeah, totally. But he's not supernatural, and there's no reason to believe that any of this is supernatural.
Owen, I'm going to turn it over to you for just a second. I'm going to watch this. I'm going to pull my headphone out so I can hear this, and I'm just going to watch this really quick.
Okay. So anyway,
I'm leaving it up to you.
Go ahead. Yeah. There's no reason to believe any of this is supernatural. I'm not sure why this would convince you when you know that others like Darren Brown just like overtly and openly like put people in their audience. It's entertainment. Like, no, you know, I'm not upset by that or anything.
Right.
That's just how it works. So why did this convince you over anything else?
Darren Brown, I mean, he doesn't pretend to be contacting the dead.
No,
Why
no.
does this convince
Well,
me?
I mean, he does pretend to do
I'm just
tricks
saying that
because
Will.
he's an entertainer. I mean, that's what a trick
This
is,
cannot-
right?
When you look at it, you will see this cannot be tricks.
I don't understand how you can
Impossible.
possibly say something like that. That doesn't make any sense. What describe it to me, because Forrest is watching the video right now. A lot of people in the audience haven't seen the video. So describe the thing that you saw that convinced you.
Okay. Well, John Edward is sitting in the studio, just with a white background, with Anderson Cooper, and he's meeting Anderson. Comes up with all kinds of things that I don't believe Anderson Cooper told him. And then he said, I'm getting something about other people. And so he looks at the camera crew and asks, is this about you? And he knows about, one of them just had a new baby in the family. Somebody else on the crew just has a death in the family. Somebody was hit, I believe it was a bicycle accident right in front of their house. He describes it in detail. There's a zero way this can be made up.
Okay. Assuming that he really, you know, assuming the video is the way you describe, that he really did accurately describe something very, very detailed. How you said earlier you believe that this is genuine. How do you know that it's genuine? I mean, this is enough to believe in God and alter your entire life from the ground up. How can you be that confident that you know these people were not tricking the audience by like planning things ahead of time? How can you be so sure that that's what was happening?
I'm sorry. I just watched the whole clip.
Okay. How long is it?
It's about 2 minutes. I don't want to interrupt. If you're in the middle of something, go ahead, and then I've got this.
Okay. No,
There are three clips. Two with the crew and one with the audience.
I only needed the one.
I mean, you're very brave. Thanks for looking at any of it.
brave. Okay.
Yeah. Owen, are you in the middle of something?
No, go ahead.
Mark, you're gullible as shit. so let me just recap the clip that I just watched. Okay, because I actually took some notes here about the shit that the psychic says. Okay. He's talking about Anderson Cooper's mom, I believe. Now, Anderson Cooper is an old person. He is not a young guy. He's got all white hair, and his mom is still alive. So what do you immediately know about his mom? You know that his mom's old as fuck, right? So he says, I'm seeing your mom has some health stuff going on. And Anderson Cooper's like, yeah, she's sick right now. And he says, yeah, I see she's not quite clear of mind. And he goes, yeah, she has Alzheimer's. So the thing you know, if an old person's mom is alive, she's in poor health and she probably has dementia. That's not a fucking stretch. That's just a thing you should know. And that's this guy's first big reveal. Then he says, I'm getting the name something with an S. Sam, Sammy, Samuel, Sam, something with Sam. And nobody says anything. Yeah. And then Anderson Cooper says, oh, I had a pet snake named Sam when I was a kid. Now, again, Anderson Cooper is an older guy. And he says, I had a pet snake when I was a kid named Sam. And he says, I think he's dead. I feel that he's passed. Fucking duh. Yeah, of course. And he goes, oh my God, yes, he did pass. And then he says, did you think of him recently? Yes, Anderson Cooper thought of his childhood pet sometime. And then that goes on about the fucking snake for a minute. Then he says, I'm getting this thing that you lived on a farm. Anderson Cooper is a very famous individual. You can easily look up his autobiography or his biography and find out they lived on a fucking farm. I guarantee his Wikipedia says he grew up on a farm. And he says, I'm feeling like you lived on a farm. And Anderson Cooper's like, oh my God, yes, I did live on a farm. And then he says, I have this vision that you have happy memories about this area in the farm that maybe used to have water or does have water in it. And Anderson Cooper's eyes light up because, oh my God, because every motherfucking farm has a pond or an area with a depression that has water pool in it. And every fucking child who grew up on a farm in history has fond memories of playing around water, especially when it's on their fucking farm. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different predictions that this psychic sees that are basic fucking logic or shit you can learn on Wikipedia. And Mark, you fucking fell for it and believed in the supernatural because a psychic did what psychics do, which is say obvious or vague shit and let their audience fill in the blanks. You're gullible as fuck if you fell for this, especially if you're going to call into a show like this and say that it's proof, not evidence, but proof of the supernatural.
Well, two things about that. Number one, look at what he tells the crew, the cameraman.
He does the same thing. He's a professional psychic. He cold read them. He came up with shit that's either obvious, extremely common, or vague enough to let them fill in the blanks. He cold read them. It's a skill that anybody can learn. It's a carnival trick, and it makes for good TV. I guarantee they cut out all the parts where he got shit wrong, because there are countless examples of people videotaping psychics, and 90% of what they said is nothing, but the 3 times they accidentally got something right, that's what people remember. So he did a cold read, as every other psychic does, and they cut out the parts where he got it wrong because it's a TV show. And the shit that he got right is shit you can either learn from Google or shit that anybody could come up with. Did you have a childhood pet? Does your elderly mother have health issues? Did you have water on your farm? Wow. Supernatural abilities.
Okay, so hold on just a second. Let me address that. Now, any one of those in itself, a Venn diagram, if you take all of those, what you say, there are 8 different things, circle for each of the 8, and where do they all intersect? That's a very, very tiny number of people.
It's really not.
Yes, it's the tiny number of people is the audience, the person who he's talking to, that he learned about on Wikipedia.
Well, he didn't learn about the crew on Wikipedia.
He doesn't have to. He can cold read the crew. If you... dude, we have right now, hold on a second. I want to be very serious about this. So I'm asking, we have 2,000 people watching right now. We have 2,000 people watching right now. Okay. And I am asking the audience to type in the chat, do not lie. I'm begging you to please be sincere. I'm getting a name right now, and the name is Dave. So audience, please let me know if the name Dave or David or Davey or Davis, I'm just getting this Dave name, means anything to you. And we're going to see how many people in the audience say that. Now, it's going to take a few seconds to fill in. So while we're waiting a few seconds, because I guarantee we're going to get a few of them, I'm getting this name Dave, and this Dave is in poor health. It says Dave had a lot of health problems. He may be alive, he may be dead, but he has some health issues going on. We've got the audience pouring in right now. Lots of people saying that they know a Dave. They have an ex named Dave. They have an uncle named Dave. They have a cousin named Dave. Dave Warnock has come up a few times here.
Sure.
So is Dave in poor health?
Oh.
That's the next thing. Dave's in poor health. So tell me in the chat if you know a Dave that's in poor health. And also, Dave wants to tell you about the dog. Dave and the dog are very important. So please tell me in the audience if you have somebody named Dave who's in poor health that has a connection with you through a dog. You had a dog together. Maybe you bought a dog from a guy named Dave. You had a childhood dog, whatever. So tell me about Dave and the dog. And Dave is in poor health. And we are now getting people in the chat that are still, it's less people, it's less and less people, but we still have people here saying that, yes, that you have a Dave and a dog and that Dave's in poor health. Again, I am making shit up. I'm just saying whatever the fuck comes into my mind. But because we have a big audience, what are the chances these Venn diagrams overlap? Dave in poor health with a dog. I've got 5 or 6 people right here that are saying that's true. Am I a fucking psychic? Or am I just saying vague enough shit that if I were to pick any one of these people and say I'm talking about Dave and poor health of the dog, they would say, yeah, my uncle named Dave gave me a dog when I was a child. And I would say, he wants me to tell you he loves you. And they would feel something now, and they'd feel like I have supernatural powers. That's how psychics work.
Okay. Well, put in, was Dave just killed in a bicycle accident in front of his parents' house?
What?
That's how specific he gets.
I think he's talking about the video. Did he say in the video that he was very specific about like what happened to some guy, or?
Well, it was actually the camera guy's his wife's niece.
Look, here's the thing. This is how it works.
Was killed in front of the house.
You get really you start broad, and you get really, really specific as you get more information from the audience member or from the person you're reading. And everybody can come up with something. I went to my friend David's house. This is real. I went to my friend David's house and I pet his dog one time. And I remember, I have that memory. So there you go. Yep. It applies to me. It can literally apply to anybody. And you know what else? I've seen and been in bicycle accidents too. I'm sure I could make this, I could work this around to make it apply to me even. It's because when people hear things like this, they try to draw connections that just aren't there. And our pattern recognition software in our heads lets it happen.
And if he said there was a bicycle accident and they said, actually, it was a scooter accident, he could just say, oh, I just saw the wheels and I just went with, yeah, scooter makes sense. Yeah. And the person would still believe it. Was the first thing he said, I can tell that someone's niece died in a bicycle accident, was hit by a car, and I think it was one of the cameramen? Or did he say a series of increasingly specific shit fed by the cameraman's reaction until he got to that point?
And if your audience looks at all 3 of those clips, they'll see it.
They will see a psychic behaving.
When John Edward,
my question again,
when John Edward
did he start by saying, I can tell one of the cameramen, one of their nieces, had a bicycle accident? Did he say that to start with or to end with?
No.
No is not an answer. Did he say it to start with or to end with?
All these things just come in the middle. And they said, who's Claire? He says, oh, that's my other niece. I'm making it up, but that's what he says, in fact. And all these details all fit together. And they're not.
So I'm going to ask you again, Mark. So I'm going to ask you again, Mark, the same question I asked you earlier. Yeah. How do you know that they didn't feed him that information before the shoot to make the shoot good, or pretend like the information was good to make the clip good?
You can see the surprise on these guys' faces when he talks about a baby in the family.
You know actors exist, right?
These are not actors. These are cameramen.
How do you know?
Actors can pretend to be cameramen. There are people who have acted like cameramen before. I'm asking you, how do you know?
Cooper does not have.
Anderson Cooper is an entertainer. He's a journalist too. He does a bunch of stuff. This isn't journalism. This is an entertainment piece. How do you know he didn't either tell this guy facts about himself or pretend that what the guy was saying was real? How can you rule those possibilities out?
Well, not only that. Okay, now hold on. Then he goes.
No, you're going to answer that question before we move on. We're going to answer that question before we move on. You're going to answer that question before we move on.
I'm answering that question. He also brings in their families, and the stories
that doesn't answer the question.
Straight from the heart.
That doesn't answer the question.
How can I tell?
How do you know that he didn't get that information beforehand, or the people pretended like what he was saying was true? One or the other.
Well, the people do not have those crew members. They would not have a Facebook that has all the information that Anderson that John Edward gets to.
I'm sorry. What did you say? Probably.
I mean, things about suicide attempt.
I mean, what is more likely, John? Mark, pardon me. What is more likely, Mark? Is it more likely that a camera guy posted some intimate information on Facebook, or is it more likely that somebody has magical mind reading powers?
It's more logical that John Edward is what he says he is. He's been doing it for 30 years.
No, it is not. Mark, you are gullible as fuck, and I mean this sincerely. I super fucking hope you never go to see a psychic, because they will take advantage of you. That's what they do. They are vultures, and they prey upon people like you who are willing to believe them when they just fucking say dumb shit. And you are willing to say that it's more reasonable, it's more logical that somebody has magic powers than that either somebody lied or told them something to make good TV, or that they just did the same carnival trick that every other fucking psychic in history does. Either they are lying, or they told him this beforehand, or he's a good performer, which is probably how he got on TV. Any one of those three things is more likely and more logical than this guy having magic fucking powers. Mark, you are incredibly gullible, and you need to work on it.
Let me address that, please. I do not believe that he brings the cameramen, all of their families, into the audience and talks to all of them. I just do not believe that the whole thing with all the family members was arranged.
Did you say believe?
Does the name
too much from the heart?
Does the name Kimberly mean anything to you, Mark? Does the name Kimberly mean anything to you?
No.
No. Okay, that's what Matt asked me.
I knew somebody when I was little that was named Kimberly.
Oh shit! Well, that's my psychic powers was picking up from Owen instead of from you.
Yeah, it was leaking over, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Matt.
Just to go back to the Venn diagram, when you get 10 circles that all line up, the intersection of all those circles is almost nothing. He gets very particular, and he comes with
the way that
cold reading is, and it's obvious he's not doing it.
The Venn diagram thing, that's how this whole system works. As Forrest said earlier, the audience is the Venn diagram. You say something super broad and you narrow it down to 15 people out of 100. And then you say something else, and 3 of those people speak up and say, yeah, that's me too. Wow, you've gotten 2 things correct so far. And then you say something slightly less, or you say something broad again, and maybe 2 or maybe all 3 of them raise their hand and say, yes, that all applies to me. That's how cold reading works. You should really read about cold reading. It's super interesting. It's a skill
I know
you can develop.
I know all about that.
And how'd you fall for that?
Not.
You see, he would hold on.
How did you fall for someone doing cold reading?
I didn't.
You did.
Okay, let me make one point here. John Edward, he does not change what he's seeing. He doesn't change. Oh, it wasn't a bicycle; it was a scooter. None of that. There's one reading that he does with Dr. Phil's audience, where he says, "Oh, I keep saying this SK named Scott," and something like that. And at the end, everybody saying, "No." He goes back to, "No, I really see this SK thing." And at the very end, they say, "Oh, one of the women who was murdered was pregnant, and they'd already named the child, and it was Skylar."
Oh, hey, just really quick, Mark. Do you think? I'm just going to ask you the same question I asked you different just a minute ago. This guy goes on all these shows, right? Is it more likely, logically, is it more likely that this guy hires people to sit in the audience and agree with him whenever nobody else will? If nobody in the audience has a reaction, this person's paid $300 to sit there and go, I know someone named Skylar. It was my dead wife's child, or whatever the fuck. Do you think that's more likely, or do you think this guy actually has magic powers?
I think he does what he says he's doing.
Exactly, because you're incredibly gullible and you bought into this thing. As I have asked you repeatedly, how do you know he didn't get fed the information beforehand? How do you know that people aren't just pretending that that's what's happening? How do you know he doesn't have a stooge in the audience? Those are the 3 easiest ways to make a psychic show work. And you are more willing to believe that a guy has fucking magic powers than that he does the exact same thing that every other psychic in history has ever done. There have been millions of professional psychics all throughout history. Some of them have been on the news. Some of them have had their own TV shows. Some of them have been aiding in the police investigations, all this, and they all do the same things. They do cold reading. They get the information beforehand. People pretend like they're telling the truth when they're not, and they buy stooges. And this guy could be doing any of those four things, but you are going to say, no, it is more logical that he actually has fucking magic powers. Mark, you are gullible, and you have fallen for a fucking parlor trick. You are the sucker. You are the rube. You are the person who is giving this guy money. You are the person this guy banks on. You are the person who is so desperate to believe in something magical that you're willing to set aside your critical thinking and the same kind of logic and credulity that you would apply to anything else. And it sucks.
Hold on, please.
And it's such a straightforward trick, too.
It's such a simple trick. It's so easy. I did it in front of you.
Okay, here's two things. I trust that and it's just apparent. These people that like Dr. Phil, some of these people are very hard nosed. They don't buy into that. They're trying to make him look like a skeptic, or they're skeptical.
Dr. Phil?
No, they're not. They're trying to make a TV show. They're on TV. They want views. The people who watch those shows are not often critical thinkers. They're just average people. They're broadcasting to the masses, and they want to give them hope and magic to hatch onto. That's all it is. It's a TV show.
He would have been caught. Some of his over 30-year period.
You mean just like all the other psychics that have been caught after they had been on the air for way more than 30 years?
That's irrelevant.
No, it's not.
Well, I can't name any.
Okay.
Sylvia Brown.
Do you know who Uri Geller is? Have you ever heard that name?
Oh, yeah, sure. I know.
Okay.
He was afraid. It was a fraud.
A liar, like live on TV, openly. That's just one example of what we were talking about. How can you say?
Well, you could find many examples of. There are many criminals. There are many saints.
Sylvia Brown had a TV show where she did psychic readings for almost 2 decades, almost 20 years of not even her going on to other shows, her own personal show. I'm looking it up right now. I'm trying to figure it out. She regularly appeared on the Montel Williams shows. Pardon me. She didn't have her own show. Pardon me. She was on this other one. Yes. And she was on every week for almost 20 years until she finally was. I don't even think she was ever like caught. People knew she was bullshit, but I think she just retired.
Well, she was clever.
Everybody knows this nonsense.
She said, well, you know, I lost this piece of jewelry. Well, it's way in the back of the drawer. It would never be something that they could discover right at the moment. It had to be, well, you'll find it later. It was always, you know, you'll find out this is true later.
I guarantee she did not build her entire career on shit that people couldn't verify in the moment. She was a cold reader. She did the same things that everybody else did.
Such a straight.
I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you just. Owen, do you have anything else for Mark?
I was going to say this is such a straightforward trick. Honestly, like I don't understand how you can see other people do it. You seem to know these names. Darren Brown is awesome. Again, actually, you guys should check him out if you haven't.
He's great.
Darren Brown or like any of them. There are a billion people who do this, and this one guy you fall for. Why? You should know how this works, right?
I do.
Then why fall for this one?
Listen, here, let me ask you this. You know, it's hard enough for the government to keep secrets. You think one of his stooges would not have come forward in 30 years and spilled the beans?
Everybody can see what's happening. Nobody needs to come forward.
Oh my God.
We're all well aware of how this works. This is not a magic trick, and nobody is really fooled by this except for a very small subset of people who are just unfamiliar with the trick generally.
Well, here's one of my favorite quotes. If 50 million people say a foolish thing, it is still a foolish thing. Argumentum ad populum.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah. So you say if 50 million
what is that?
people say a foolish thing,
That's
it's still
not relevant at all.
Well, most people, because of I would say because of Amazing Randy. He came out and said, "Oh, they're all fake." He said categorically, they're all fake.
Because we've yet to see one that's real.
Well, he's not the only one. I think Teresa Caputo, she's very good. She's not as good as John Edward. There's another guy.
Do you think she has magic powers as well?
Listen, magic powers. I think she sees dead people.
Oh boy.
She proves it too many times on her show.
So same question as before, Mark. How do you know for sure that she doesn't get the information beforehand, pay people to pretend like the information is real, or just have people in the audience act like it without pay in order to make for a better show, or just do the same cold reading as every other psychic?
I have no reason to believe that. And it's just too complicated compared to doing it the real way. I mean, who is it? Teresa Caputo?
What is the real way?
People will hide. They'll try to fake her out. I mean, you can always say that everybody she reads is a liar, but they will hide, something, piece of jewelry in the sofa.
No, I don't think everyone that she reads is a liar. I think that most of the people she reads are suckers that have been fooled by her cold reading. She did a carnival trick and it worked. That's why it's an effective carnival trick. And I think when she can't pull it off, she may have somebody in the audience who's paid to pretend like she pulled it off. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. And you, Mark, consistently for 35 minutes have not one single time even admitted the possibility that they're doing these deceptive tactics that every other psychic in the world does, because you've decided that they're telling the truth.
You're simply mistaken.
Okay, how do you know for sure that this guy and this lady that you're talking about aren't cold reading, using stooges, or getting the information beforehand?
I've seen them over time. It's just
I'm asking again until you. I'm gonna, Owen. Unless you have something else, I'm gonna ask this question until we either get an answer or die.
What do you think?
How do you know for sure? How have you ruled out the possibility that they are not cold reading, stooging, or getting the answers beforehand?
They have too much,
which would be hot
over
reading.
Too long a period of time.
Okay, you've seen them be successful. In order to get that success, how do you know that they are not actually getting that success by cold reading, hot reading, or stooging?
They do too many people. It would just be unmanageable.
So they do all these different people,
that is
right?
Too particular.
Yes, they get very particular information, which you can get from cold reading, hot reading, or stooging. So how do you know that they're not doing those three things?
No, I disagree. Not particular information. It's very specific.
Okay, you can get very specific information from hot reading or stooging. So how do you know they're not doing those two things?
Because they would have been over time. I don't believe that you can keep a secret. Somebody will turn you
unless you have your stooges sign an NDA where they'll get sued off of their ass if they spill the secret. Or hot reading, you don't have to have a stooge that could spill the beans. So how do you know they didn't do hot reading or stooging in order to be so successful?
The nature of the specific information would not possibly be in. It's very quirky thing.
If you have a stooge, you could say your dog was named this and it was spelled this way and they died on the 3rd of September 1998 with a red ball in their mouth and be super fucking specific, and the stooge would say that's correct. So how do you know they didn't get this super specific greed by stooging?
Because they do too great a volume of people.
Oh my fucking God, Mark.
People.
They could hire a lot of stooges. They could have them all sign NDAs, or they could hot read, or they could get the information beforehand, or the people could just pretend to put on a good show. And they could do all these different things at different times. They don't have to just do one of them. How do you know that these people, let me try this way. Has this guy and this person that you believe in, have they ever in their entire lives and their entire career ever bullshitted their way through it by hot reading, cold reading, stooging, anything like that? Have they ever done those things?
John Edwards said his favorite thing is to do.
Answer the question, Mark. Radio. Answer the question. Answer the question.
How do I know?
Has John Edwards ever fucked it up and ever done this shit by dishonest tactics like I'm talking about? Has he ever done those things?
No.
Okay. How do you know that he has never do you know the motherfucker personally? How do you know that he has never bullshitted anybody?
I've just seen him do it. He does it so effortlessly.
Because you believe it. Yeah, Mark, this is what I'm talking about. Mark, you are gullible as fuck. You believe it because you believe it because you believe it because you believe it because you believe it. And any one of the more reasonable naturalistic possibilities can't be possible because you believe it. And it's not even possible that this guy has ever done it wrong because you believe it, because you believe it, because you believe it, because you believe it. Mark, that's it. The whole point of your call is that you believe it. I know you believe it. It's not fucking really reasonable to believe it.
I've seen so much that it is reasonable to believe it.
You've seen a guy do a trick.
Your explanation is simply illogical.
My explanation is that he did a trick. A magician did a magic trick. That's my explanation. And your explanation is he has fucking magic powers. Which one of us is illogical again?
You're just using magic.
You got fooled by a con man.
A painted word. Not for 30 years. And his favorite thing is to do it over the radio. He says then
you got fooled by a con man.
Cold reading. Well, how does he do it over the radio then? Has no chance of cold reading.
Oh my God.
Editing.
You don't know what cold reading is.
I do.
Clearly not.
For physical switches.
You would not be saying this if you knew what cold reading
stuff that isn't there.
Mark, a blind person can do cold reading. You don't have to see the person to cold read them. You can do it over the radio. You can absolutely do that. And guess what else can happen over the radio? Cold reading, stooging, hot reading, getting information beforehand. All of those also work over the radio too. It's the entertainment industry. It is more entertaining if the trick works. They make money when he gets it right. They all have an incentive to fuck with you. And you fell for it. Hook, line, and fucking sinker.
I've worked in public television. It would be such a...
You should have paid better attention.
To arrange it all.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I've
it's not hard. You don't even need that. You don't even need that many. You need like one.
So you have.
Oh my God. James Randi, Arden just sent something about this Edward guy. James Randi found that just 3 of the 23 statements made by Edward were actually confirmed as correct by an audience member being read. The 3 statements that were correct were trivial and nondescript. She literally just took 2 seconds to do what you should have done this entire time and looked up this motherfucker. He did a cold read on a guy in front of James Randi, and 3 out of 23 statements were correct. Okay, so what's your explanation for it? Was his magic not working that day?
Randy looked at a chunk that was 45 seconds long, and he said that he made 33 guesses in 45 seconds. Number one, I believe that's impossible. And he doesn't make guesses. He asks the specific questions so we can see where all the personalities and the names fit together. So that he knows what the whole story is. He gets like imagine a handful of Lego blocks. With a
Did you wait a minute? Hold just a second. You said you don't believe that's possible. Did you watch the clip that James Randi was critiquing?
Yes. No.
Okay, so
but how can somebody ask a question every 2 seconds? That's impossible.
That's not impossible at all. It's super not, especially not if you're doing that job. Mark, I'm going to move on because this is fucking depressing at this point. You were conned by a con man. He is a magician doing a magic trick, and you believed he had fucking superpowers. Reevaluate your life choices. This is fucking terrible.
Well, it doesn't, as my little quote about 50 million people say a foolish thing, it's still a foolish thing. It took 100 years.
That doesn't change anything.
Well, after
nothing that I'm talking about is the bandwagon fallacy.
It took a century for it to be widely known. This could be, cannot catch on for a long time.
You know what would make it catch on is if it were real, but it isn't. It's a parlor trick. This guy did a magic trick.
Seen a couple of little moments.
I saw his whole. Oh my fucking God. I saw the couple little moments that you told me were the best evidence for this guy. And they were so fucking laughably, obviously bullshit that we were able to tear them apart in less time than it took me to watch the fucking clip.
The third one is to look at him and his family, their families.
I'm not going to do it, man, because he's a con man doing a con job. I don't want, if I go to a Penn and Teller show, I see things I can't imagine to be real, but they're fucking not magic. They're just an amazing trick. And that's how these things work. He's a professional magician. At this point, Mark, I'm going to get fucking PETA called on this show because I'm beating this dead horse for so long. We're going to move on. This is fucking depressing. You need to think about what you're saying. We're going to move on. This sucks. You're gullible as fuck and you need to work on it. You're going to be taken advantage of. I'm not listening to your final point. This isn't your show. Mark, in 46 fucking minutes, you have not been able to even entertain the idea that this person is lying to you. You literally said it's not possible that he has ever fucking lied to you. That is crazy thinking. You need to get out of that shit. You're going to be taken advantage of by vultures. You need to be aware of this. This is not safe for you or your loved ones. Holy fuck. Owen, do you have anything else for Mark? I'm so fucking done.
I think that's it. Yeah, Mark, you say you know cold reading, but you apparently don't. And I want you to look into how this works and look at other examples of people cold reading. You can do it. Learn the skill, and then come back to us and let us know how you feel about it after that. Because it's just so, like, there doesn't need to be an NDA to hide information because it's such a straightforward trick. Like, nobody even needs to hide any of this stuff or whatever. Everybody knows that it's ridiculous.
And the shit thing is, if one of these fucking stooges came out and said, I lied about it, Mark wouldn't believe them. His Mark's already bought in. Mark, you literally fucking said it's not possible that this dude has ever bullshitted you. It's so fucking insane. We're moving on. Please think about the things you believe, Mark. Oh my glob. Hey, if you're out there watching this stuff, don't fall for psychics. Don't fall for psychics. They literally make a job. They make a living doing this and then telling you that magic is real. And they count on you to just not think about what they're saying or doing long enough to give them money or views. Views are money. So if you tune in and watch them, money. So like that's the business model. Oh my glob.
Wow, that was a great clip we just watched. Hey, Eve, what should the people do now?
Leave a comment, click like, subscribe, patreon.com/ does that say call the line?
Yeah. But if you could have made, we could just make it a little more natural. On the next clip, the outro will be much better.